Welcome back to our channel. Today, on an extraordinary journey through time, across continents and civilizations, to discover 5 of humanity's most incredible achievements. From the sun-bleached marble of Greece to the endless stretches of defensive fortifications across China, from the jungle-wrapped temples of Cambodia to the desert tombs of Egypt, and finally to the rose-red city carved into Jordanian cliffs. Each destination tells a story of human ambition, ingenuity, and the timeless desire to create something that outlasts our brief time on Earth. These aren't just monuments. They're windows into cultures that thrived thousands of years ago, geographical marvels that continue to inspire architects and engineers today, and spiritual centers that still resonate with meaning. Each stone, each corridor, each carving whispers secrets of empires risen and fallen, of kings and queens, of workers and dreamers who believed in something greater than themselves. But here's something I want you to think about. What drives humanity to create structures so massive, so enduring, that they survive millennia? Is it ego, spirituality, fear of death, or simply the deep human need to leave our mark on this world? Before we explore these amazing wonders, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss our upcoming adventures. Check out the links in the description below for exclusive deals on flights and accommodations to make your dreams come true. Now, let's get started. The Acropolis of Athens, Greece. The Acropolis sits in the heart of Athens, the capital of Greece, positioned strategically in the Attica region. This rocky outcrop dominates the landscape for miles around, visible from nearly every corner of the ancient city. The geography here is fascinating. The plateau's steep, natural cliffs made it an ideal defensive position, while its elevation made it feel closer to the gods the Greeks so fervently worshipped. The surrounding landscape features the rugged beauty typical of mainland Greece: rocky hills, olive groves, and the shimmering Aegean Sea just 5 miles to the southwest. Ancient Athens wasn't just a city, it was the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, and theater as we know them today. The Greeks who built the Acropolis in the 5th century BCE during the golden age of Pericles were a people obsessed with perfection, balance, and the relationship between humanity and divinity. They believed that beauty itself was a form of truth, and that their architecture should reflect the divine order of the cosmos. The Acropolis wasn't merely a religious center, it was a statement of Athenian identity, power, and cultural superiority. The history of the Acropolis spans thousands of years. The rock was inhabited as far back as the 4th millennium BCE, but the buildings we see today, particularly the iconic Parthenon, were constructed between 447 and 432 BCE. This was Athens at its peak, flush with wealth from its maritime empire and victory over the Persians. The statesman Pericles envisioned the Acropolis as a symbol of Athenian glory, and he commissioned the finest architects and sculptors of the age, Ictinus, Callicrates, and the master sculptor Phidias. These brilliant minds created structures using advanced mathematical principles. The Parthenon, for instance, contains no straight lines. Every column, every step is slightly curved to correct for optical illusions, creating the appearance of perfect straightness and balance. The Parthenon itself was dedicated to Athene Parthenos, the virgin goddess of wisdom and warfare, who was Athens' patron deity. Inside once stood a 40-foot-tall statue of Athene made of gold and ivory, one of the ancient world's most spectacular artworks. But the Acropolis contains other treasures too. The Erechtheion with its famous porch of the Caryatids, where 6 female figures serve as columns, the Temple of Athene Nike, celebrating Athenian military victories, and the Propylaea, the magnificent gateway that controlled access to the sacred precinct. What makes the Acropolis truly remarkable is how it has survived. It's been a temple complex, a Christian church, a mosque, an ammunition depot, which exploded catastrophically in 1687 when Venetian artillery struck it, and now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Each civilization that conquered Athens left its mark, yet the essential Greek character remains. The Acropolis has witnessed the birth of democracy, the rise and fall of empires, world wars, and the evolution of the modern world. Standing on that rock, you're standing where Socrates walked, where Plato taught, where the foundations of Western thought were laid. The architectural influence of the Acropolis cannot be overstated. Those Doric columns, they've been copied in government buildings, universities, and monuments worldwide. The British Museum, the US Supreme Court, countless European palaces, they all echo the proportions and style pioneered here. The Acropolis taught the world that architecture could be both functional and transcendently beautiful. The Acropolis of Athens represents the pinnacle of classical Greek architecture and the birthplace of Western democratic ideals. Located on a strategic plateau in central Athens, it showcases the ancient Greeks' mastery of mathematics, aesthetics, and engineering. Built during Athens' golden age in the 5th century BCE, this sacred complex, including the Parthenon, Erechtheion, and other temples, has influenced architectural design for over 2,400 years and stands as an enduring symbol of human achievement in art, culture, and governance. 2. The Great Wall of China, China. The Great Wall traverses some of China's most dramatic and diverse landscapes. It stretches from Dandong in the east, near the North Korean border, all the way west to the Gobi Desert, crossing 9 provinces and autonomous regions. The wall snakes through the Yellow River Basin, climbs the precipitous peaks of the Taihang Mountains, crosses the grasslands of Inner Mongolia, and penetrates deep into the arid deserts of the northwest. Some sections rise to elevations over 5,000 feet, while others traverse mountain passes so steep that modern visitors climb on all fours. The geography here dictated the wall's construction. Builders used local materials, which is why the wall appears as rammed earth in some regions, fired brick in others, and natural stone in the mountains. To understand the Great Wall, you must understand Chinese culture and the fundamental tension that shaped it. Ancient China saw itself as the center of civilization, the Middle Kingdom, surrounded by barbarian tribes. The north, particularly, was home to nomadic peoples, Xiongnu, Mongols, and others, who regularly raided Chinese settlements. Chinese culture valued agriculture, scholarship, stability, and permanence, while these northern tribes valued mobility, warfare, and conquest. The wall represents the ultimate expression of Chinese civilization's attempt to create order and boundaries in a chaotic world. It's literally a line drawn between civilization and wilderness, between us and them. The history of the Great Wall spans over 2,000 years and multiple dynasties. The earliest walls were built by various states during the 7th century BCE, but the first emperor to connect them into a unified defensive system was Qin Shi Huang in 221 BCE. This first emperor of unified China mobilized hundreds of thousands of workers, soldiers, peasants, and prisoners to link and extend existing fortifications. The human cost was staggering. Historians estimate that up to 400,000 workers died during the wall's construction under the Qin dynasty alone, their bodies often buried within the wall itself. But the wall we see today is primarily a Ming dynasty creation, built between the 14th and 17th centuries. After the Mongols conquered China and established the Yuan dynasty, the Ming emperors who overthrew them became obsessed with preventing another northern invasion. They rebuilt and reinforced the wall on an unprecedented scale, creating the brick and stone structure that attracts millions of visitors today. The Ming Wall incorporated watchtowers every few hundred yards, garrison stations, signal beacon towers for smoke and fire signals, and even clever architectural features like loopholes for archers and crenellated battlements. Here's something many people don't realize. The Great Wall wasn't particularly effective at keeping invaders out. The Mongols breached it, the Manchus breached it. Every major invasion of China succeeded despite the wall. So why build it? The wall's true purpose was more complex than simple defense. It controlled trade and immigration along the Silk Road, regulated borders, enabled rapid troop movement, and served as a massive psychological statement of imperial power. It said, China is permanent, China is powerful, and China's borders are defined. The wall was as much about projecting strength as providing actual defense. Walking on the Great Wall today is a profound experience. At popular sections like Badiling, you're surrounded by tourists, but venture to remote areas like Jiangku or Jinshanling, and you'll find crumbling watchtowers, collapsed sections being slowly reclaimed by vegetation, and an eerie silence broken only by wind. You realize you're walking through history, quite literally. Every stone was placed by hand, often by workers who would never see their homes again. The wall stretches beyond your vision in both directions, a reminder that some human projects are so ambitious they transcend individual lifetimes, existing across generations. The Great Wall also represents an interesting paradox in Chinese history. It was built to keep people out, to maintain cultural purity and security. Yet China's greatest periods of prosperity came when it opened itself to trade and cultural exchange along the Silk Road. The wall symbolizes both Chinese strength and Chinese insularity, both engineering genius and strategic limitation. Today, it stands as China's most recognizable symbol, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that attracts over 10 million visitors annually and represents Chinese civilization's endurance and continuity. The Great Wall of China is humanity's longest architectural achievement, stretching 13,000 miles across diverse Chinese landscapes from mountains to deserts. Built over 2,000 years by multiple dynasties, particularly the Qin and Ming, it represents ancient China's attempt to defend itself from northern invasions while controlling trade and borders. Though not entirely effective as a defensive barrier, the wall showcases extraordinary engineering and organizational capabilities, and it cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Today, it stands as China's most iconic symbol, representing both the strengths and limitations of isolationism and the incredible achievements possible when civilizations commit to monumental long-term projects. Angkor Wat, Cambodia. Angkor Wat is located in northwestern Cambodia, near the modern city of Siem Reap, in the Angkor Archaeological Park. This region sits on the northern edge of Tonle Sap, Southeast Asia's largest freshwater lake, whose seasonal flooding created incredibly fertile land. The geography here is characterized by flat plains interrupted by forested areas, with the Kulen Mountains to the northeast, providing sandstone for construction and water for an elaborate irrigation system. The climate is tropical, hot, and humid year-round, with monsoon rains from May to October. This water abundance was crucial to the Khmer Empire's success, allowing them to develop sophisticated hydraulic systems that supported a massive urban population. The culture that created Angkor Wat was a fascinating blend of indigenous Southeast Asian traditions and imported Indian influences. The Khmer people had developed a powerful empire that at its height controlled much of mainland Southeast Asia. They practiced a unique synthesis of Hinduism and Buddhism, with their kings positioning themselves as Devarajas, god-kings who served as intermediaries between the earthly and divine realms. This wasn't mere political propaganda. It was a deeply held spiritual worldview that shaped every aspect of Khmer society. Art, architecture, agriculture, and governance were all understood as expressions of cosmic order, with the king at the center maintaining harmony between humans and gods. The construction of Angkor Wat began in the early 12th century, around 1113 CE, under King Suryavarman II. Unlike most Khmer temples dedicated to Shiva, Angkor Wat was dedicated to Vishnu, the Hindu god of preservation. The temple took approximately 30 years to build and required an estimated 300,000 workers and 6,000 elephants. Think about that for a moment. The logistics of feeding, housing, and coordinating that many workers in a pre-industrial age is staggering. The sandstone blocks, some weighing up to 1.5 tons, were quarried from Phnom Kulen Mountain over 25 miles away and transporting by raft down the Siem Reap River. No mortar was used. Blocks were fitted together with incredible precision, smoothed until they locked together seamlessly. The temple's design is a three-dimensional representation of Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain at the center of the universe in Hindu and Buddhist cosmology. The 5 towers represent the 5 peaks of Mount Meru, the surrounding moat represents the cosmic ocean, and the concentric galleries represent the mountain ranges that surround the sacred mountain. Every measurement has symbolic meaning. The temple's east-west axis aligns with the equinox, and its dimensions encode numbers sacred to Hindu cosmology. Walking through Angkor Wat isn't just touring a building, it's walking through a stone mandala, a map of the spiritual universe. But here's what makes Angkor Wat truly extraordinary: the bas-reliefs. Over 1,800 square feet of carved stone walls tell stories from Hindu epics, depict historical battles, and illustrate cosmological concepts. The most famous is the churning of the ocean of milk, showing gods and demons cooperating to churn the cosmic ocean to obtain the elixir of immortality. These aren't crude carvings, they're sophisticated artworks with tens of thousands of figures, each distinct, each telling part of a larger story. The level of detail is astonishing. You can spend days studying these reliefs and still discover new details. After Suryavarman II's death, Angkor Wat was gradually transformed from a Hindu temple into a Buddhist temple, a transition that occurred throughout the Khmer Empire in the late 12th and 13th centuries. Buddhist monks maintained the temple even after the Khmer Empire collapsed, and the capital moved away from Angkor in the 15th century. While other Angkor temples were abandoned to the jungle, Angkor Wat remained in continuous religious use, a key reason it survived in relatively good condition. The temple was rediscovered by the Western world when French naturalist Henri Mauhot published his detailed accounts in 1860, though local people and Buddhist monks had never forgotten it. This discovery sparked both scholarly interest and, unfortunately, significant looting. Today, Angkor Wat appears on Cambodia's flag and is a source of immense national pride. It's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site threatened by tourism pressure, groundwater extraction, and weathering. Conservationists are in a constant race to preserve this irreplaceable monument. Angkor Wat in Cambodia is the world's largest religious monument, built in the early 12th century during the Khmer Empire's Golden Age. Located near Siem Reap in a region made prosperous by sophisticated water management and the Tonle Sap Lake system, this temple complex represents the pinnacle of Khmer architecture and spiritual devotion. Originally dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, it later became a Buddhist temple and remains religiously active today. Its architecture mirrors cosmic mythology, its bas-reliefs tell epic stories, and its continuous use for over 900 years makes it unique among ancient temples. Angkor Wat demonstrates how architecture can be both a spiritual practice and a technological achievement, creating sacred space that endures across centuries. The Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. The Pyramids of Giza sit on a rocky plateau on the west bank of the Nile River, about 5 miles west of modern Cairo. The geography here is significant. Ancient Egyptians associated the West with the land of the dead, because that's where the sun sets, making this location symbolically perfect for royal tombs. The plateau itself is solid limestone bedrock, providing a stable foundation for structures weighing millions of tons. To the east flows the Nile, Egypt's lifeblood, which was both a highway for transporting materials and the source of the agricultural wealth that made pyramid construction possible. The desert climate, hot, dry, with minimal rainfall, has been crucial to the pyramids' preservation. To understand these monuments, you must understand ancient Egyptian culture, which was profoundly different from ours. Egyptians didn't see death as an ending, but as a transition to another form of existence. They believed the pharaoh was literally a god on earth, the son of Ra, the sun god, and that his well-being after death was essential to Egypt's continued prosperity. The pyramid wasn't just a tomb, it was a machine for resurrection, a place where the pharaoh's Ka, life force, and Ba, personality, could reunite, where he could ascend to the heavens and join the eternal cycle of the gods. This worldview justified the immense expenditure of resources. The pyramid was an investment in Egypt's cosmic order. The three main pyramids were built during Egypt's 4th dynasty, in the 26th century BCE. We're talking about 2600 to 2500 BCE, making them older than virtually everything else on this list. The Great Pyramid, built for Pharaoh Khufu, called Cheops by the Greeks, is the largest and most famous. It originally stood 481 feet tall and contained approximately 2.3 million blocks of limestone, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, with some granite blocks in the king's chamber weighing up to 80 tons. For perspective, this pyramid remained the world's tallest man-made structure until the Lincoln Cathedral was completed in 1311 CE. That's 3,800 years of holding the record. The construction methods remain partially mysterious, which is why wild theories about aliens persist. But archaeological evidence tells a more impressive story. This was human ingenuity and organization at its finest. Recent discoveries at workers' villages near Giza revealed that the pyramids were built by skilled Egyptian workers, not slaves, who were organized into competing teams and motivated by national pride, religious devotion, and probably pretty good rations of beer and bread. The blocks were quarried using copper tools and wooden wedges, moved using wooden sleds lubricated with water, and raised using either ramps or a combination of ramps and internal corridors. The precision is remarkable. The base of the Great Pyramid is level to within 1 inch, and its sides align almost perfectly with true north. The second pyramid, built for Pharaoh Khufu's son, appears taller because it sits on higher ground, but it's actually slightly smaller. It retains some of the original smooth limestone casing at its peak, giving us a glimpse of how all the pyramids once looked, gleaming white in the sun, visible for miles. The third pyramid, built for Pharaoh Menkora, is significantly smaller, but notable for its complex of subsidiary pyramids. Next to Khafu's pyramid sits the Great Sphinx, a limestone statue with a lion's body and a pharaoh's face, probably Khafu's, which has guarded this necropolis for millennia. But the pyramids are more than just impressive structures. They're the product of an entire civilization's peak capabilities. Building them required advanced mathematics. The Egyptians understood pi and used it in their calculations. They required sophisticated organization, planning, logistics, feeding, and housing thousands of workers. They required engineering innovation, moving and placing millions of tons of stone with Bronze Age technology. They required a stable, wealthy state that could mobilize resources on an unprecedented scale for decades. The pyramids are proof that ancient peoples were not primitive. They simply had different technologies and priorities than we do. Inside the Great Pyramid, narrow passages lead to the King's Chamber, a granite room that houses only an empty sarcophagus. Where is Khufu's mummy? Stolen by tomb robbers thousands of years ago, like most royal mummies. The pyramids, despite their massive size and apparent impregnability, failed at their primary purpose of protecting the pharaoh's body and treasures. This irony isn't lost on historians. The pyramids' very grandeur marked them as targets. Later pharaohs learned this lesson and built hidden tombs in the Valley of the Kings instead. Standing before the pyramids creates a strange temporal vertigo. They were already ancient when Moses was supposedly in Egypt. They were tourist attractions in Roman times. Napoleon's troops gazed at them. They've witnessed the entire span of recorded history, unchanging while empires rose and fell around them. They make you realize how brief our lives are, how fleeting our concerns. The pharaohs who built them desperately wanted to be remembered forever, and they succeeded. But we remember the achievement, not the man. We don't remember Khufu's personality, his hopes, his fears. We remember only that he organized the construction of humanity's most audacious architectural statement. The Pyramids of Giza, built around 2600 to 500 BCE during Egypt's 4th dynasty, represent the pinnacle of Old Kingdom architectural achievement and engineering. Located on the Giza Plateau west of Cairo, these massive royal tombs, particularly the Great Pyramid of Khufu, showcased ancient Egypt's mathematical sophistication, organizational capabilities, and religious devotion. Built by skilled workers over decades, the pyramids served as resurrection machines for deified pharaohs. Despite failing to protect their contents from tomb robbers, they succeeded brilliantly in their secondary purpose, ensuring that their builders would be remembered forever. The pyramids challenge our assumptions about ancient civilizations and remind us that human ambition and capability have always been extraordinary. Petra, Jordan. Petra is located in the desert canyons of southern Jordan, about 150 miles south of Amman and 50 miles north of the Red Sea port of Aqaba. The geography here is dramatic and harsh, a landscape of towering sandstone cliffs in stunning shades of red, pink, orange, and purple, carved by millions of years of wind and water erosion. Petra sits in a basin surrounded by mountains, accessible only through narrow gorges that made it naturally defensible. The region receives minimal rainfall, making water management crucial to any civilization attempting to thrive here. The Nabateans, who built Petra, solved this challenge through an ingenious system of dams, cisterns, and ceramic pipes that collected and distributed every precious drop of seasonal rainwater. The Nabateans were Arab nomads who transitioned to settled life and established themselves as middlemen controlling trade routes between Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. Their culture was a fascinating blend, Arab in origin, but deeply influenced by Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Mesopotamian cultures they encountered through trade. They spoke Arabic but wrote in Aramaic. They worshipped Arab gods but built temples in Greco-Roman styles. This cultural syncretism, this ability to adopt and adapt foreign influences while maintaining their identity, was key to their success. The Nabateans were pragmatic traders who understood that prosperity came from connections, not isolation. Petra's history stretches back to prehistoric times, but the city we see today was primarily built between the 4th century BCE and the 2nd century CE, when Petra served as the capital of the Nabatean kingdom. At its peak in the 1st century CE, Petra was home to perhaps 20,000 people and controlled trade routes carrying frankincense and myrrh from Arabia, spices from India, silk from China, and other luxury goods destined for Mediterranean markets. The Nabateans grew wealthy by taxing this trade and providing security, water, and rest stops for caravans crossing the harsh desert. The architecture of Petra is unique in the ancient world. Rather than constructing buildings, the Nabateans carved them directly into sandstone cliffs. The treasury, or al-Khazne in Arabic, is the most famous example. Despite its name, it wasn't a treasury but likely a royal tomb or temple built around the 1st century BCE. Its facade rises 130 feet high, featuring Corinthian columns, elaborate friezes, and sculptural details showing Greek and Roman influence. The rosy color comes from the natural sandstone, which shifts in hue throughout the day as light angles change. pink at dawn, blazing red at sunset, purple in twilight. The craftsmanship is remarkable. These facades were carved from the top down, with workers suspended on ropes, chipping away at solid rock with simple bronze and iron tools. But Petra contains much more than the treasury. The monastery, or aldea, sits atop a mountain reached by climbing 800 rock-cut steps. It's even larger than the treasury, with a facade 160 feet wide and 148 feet high, featuring a massive urn on top that local Bedouins used to use for target practice. The royal tombs, carved into the mountainside, contain elaborate facades concealing simple chambers where Nabatean royalty were laid to rest. The Roman-style theater, carved from solid rock, could seat 3,000 spectators. Everywhere you look, structures emerge from the cliffs: temples, houses, tombs, churches from the later Byzantine period, when Petra became a Christian city. The decline of Petra began when the Romans annexed the Nabatean kingdom in 106 CE. Trade routes shifted, Roman maritime technology allowed ships to bypass desert routes, and Petra's strategic importance diminished. A major earthquake in 363 CE destroyed much of the city, and people gradually abandoned it. By the 7th century CE, Petra was largely forgotten by the outside world, known only to local Bedouin tribes who guarded its secrets. The site was rediscovered by Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt in 1812, who disguised himself as an Arab pilgrim to gain access. His accounts reintroduced Petra to Western consciousness, and it's been captivating imaginations ever since. Today, Petra is Jordan's most valuable tourist attraction and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, drawing visitors from around the world and featuring in films like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, which used the treasury as the location of the Holy Grail. But it faces significant challenges. Tourism pressure threatens the soft sandstone, flash floods occasionally damage structures, and climate change is affecting weathering patterns. Archaeologists estimate that only 15% of Petra has been excavated. Much of this ancient city still lies buried beneath the sand, waiting to reveal its secrets. Walking through Petra is like stepping into another world. The scale is overwhelming, the colors otherworldly, the silence profound. You realize that the Nabateans didn't just build a city, they transformed an entire landscape into art. Every cliff face was a potential canvas, every canyon a possible sanctuary. Petra teaches us about adaptability, how a desert people turn their harsh environment into an advantage, controlling access to water and creating a defensible capital. Petra is an ancient Nabatean city carved directly into the sandstone cliffs of southern Jordan, flourishing between the 4th century BCE and 2nd century CE as a crucial node in ancient trade networks. The Nabateans created a remarkable urban center in an unforgiving desert environment through sophisticated water management, and strategic control of trade routes connecting Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean. Petra's unique architecture, temples, tombs, and theaters carved from living rock, reflects a culture that successfully blended Arab, Greek, Roman, and Egyptian influences. Though the city declined after Roman annexation and was largely forgotten until the 19th century, it remains one of the world's most spectacular archaeological sites, demonstrating how human creativity can transform even the harshest landscapes into places of beauty and power. What an incredible journey we've taken together today. We've stood on sacred Greek hilltops, walked along the spine of the world's longest wall, wandered through jungle temples, gazed at eternal pyramids, and explored a rose-red city carved from stone. 5 wonders, 5 civilizations, spanning thousands of years and thousands of miles, yet all connected by a common thread: the human drive to create, to build, to leave something meaningful behind. Now I want to hear from you. If you could visit only one of these 5 wonders, which would you choose and why? Are you drawn to the philosophical birthplace of Athens, the sheer scale of China's Great Wall, the spiritual mystery of Angkor Wat, the ancient enigma of the pyramids, or the hidden beauty of Petra? Drop your answer in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey with me today, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an adventure. We've got so many more incredible destinations to explore together, from hidden gems off the beaten path to iconic landmarks that every traveler should experience at least once. Your support means everything and helps me continue creating these in-depth guides that go beyond the surface to reveal the real stories behind the world's greatest places. Until next time.